All right, before the break, Tiffany asked the question, what if I wanted to change where the middle name was? In fact, what if I wanted first name, middle name, last name? Which would make sense, right? All right. So if you want to do this, and you don't have to, but if you want to, go to your Views folder, and under your Views folder, under Students, find your index.cshtml file. All right. So under Views, Students, find your index.html file. Everybody cool with that? And if you look up on the screen here, what you'll notice is it's a big table. And if you look again, keep looking here, last name, first name, enrollment date, middle name. So we have to, move those around. But if you want to do that, cool. But please look on the screen. You better change them here too. Up above are the headings. Down below is the data. You want to make sure you change both of them, because otherwise you're going to have stuff that's going to look really funky on the screen. So I'm going to come in here, and under my headings that are up here, I'm going to, where I've got last name, I'm going to move that down. So I'm going to end up having, before I finish here, last name, then so my order is going to be first name, middle name, last name, like that. Those are my headings. Please look up on the screen. Just stop what you're doing just for a second. You'll have time. But just stop what you're doing for a second, and please look up on the screen. I'm going to run this to show you how horse's butt it's going to look when I get done. Because now my headings are going to be right, but my data is not going to map up with my headings. See that? That doesn't look good, very good to me. All right, and really the one that shouldn't have any values in there is middle name, correct? All right, so I'm going to stop the run, go back in, and just like I showed you, I've already changed the one, stop the run here too, but I've already changed everything for my headings, so I want to come back down and do the same thing for my data. All right, so again, I'm going to have first name, then middle name, then last name. I'm going to save, and I'm going to try to run it again, and hopefully now it's going to look the way I want it to look. Again, remember, there should be nothing in that middle name column. So I'm at students index. Now that looks right as far as I can tell, but I'm still not done testing. In other words, I want to click edit here. And when I click edit, notice the order it comes up in. Last name, first name, enrollment date, middle name. So that means someplace else in here, there's an edit view, correct? And that edit view has to be changed. And the reason I purposely did it like this to show you, I'm glad she asked the question, all right? Because a lot of times when you change one thing, those changes do not propagate through. So you've got to manually go in and change the other things. So I'm going to go and click back to list. And now I'm going to click, let's see if we click delete. Last name, first name, those are correct, but notice the order. All right? I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to click back to list. But one more time, I'm going to click new. Notice the order. It's wrong. That says that you have other files in here that must be changed. All right? And I believe at least what I just showed you, the author doesn't show you how to do that in this paper. All right, it wasn't hard to figure out. But the point is, the reason I wanted to show it to you is just because you change one thing doesn't mean everything else just falls in line. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, okay? All right. So I'm stopping my run. I haven't done so for a while, so after I stop my run here, I'm going to do a save all because I think that's a good thing to do. Okay. Now we're going to customize a view. In fact, if you would do me a favor, please, and look at this. That is, let's see. I'm going to go over to my. Do we want enrollments here or students? Yeah, I guess it's students. I'm going to go over this, and I don't know if you noticed this before or not. Again, you don't have to do this, but I just want you to see it. All right. What happens if I click details? Well, I mean, that's not bad. It gives me the details, right? But it would be nicer if for each student that what it showed me underneath there were all the courses the student took and their grades, etc. That'd be nice. So let's do that. All right. And it's not very hard to do. So the way we're going to do that is I'm assuming that you're back here. All right. And what we want to do is under students, we want to find the details.cshtml file. We want to find the details CSHTML file. All right. Now, what you'll notice is you've got a bunch of detail stuff here. Anybody see anything funky looking about the order? We could change this too. Now, I'm not going to do that now because we could spend the rest of the period just changing stuff that should be changed. But what I want you to do is if you look, does anybody remember what that even stands for? DL? It's data list. Sometimes it's called a detail list. All right. But what we want to do in here is after our last DL tag, after this, but before the ending div tag. I just gave you all this because I forgot to send it to you, but I gave you this. Everybody see that? You got it on you got that piece of paper? Type that stuff in right here. I'll do the same. I'm making you do it, I can do it. One last thing though, if you look up on the screen, please. Notice they're bootstrap classes. So this is how they had you do it in the book. But I'm going to add table striped. Even though this isn't on yours, and I'm going to add table condensed. You do not have to do that. You can do that if you want to. one or more of you may have run this and gotten an error when you ran it. All right? Let me show you why you could get an error. All right, so if I run this, it's running right now, but if I come over to here where I was, where it's on run right here, it's going to try to run this, but it's going to try to run the details page, which is, for lack of better words, a subpage. It's not a regular page. It's something you get to from a page. So the first time I did this, when I ran it, I got an error. And it basically, it's, for lack of better words, it's telling me, I don't know what you're trying to do. All right? Now, it's going to run now because it says, no, it's not going to. In fact, it says details. See that? So if you got that message, if you did, all you have to do is say, no, don't run the details page. Run the students page, because details is not a page. So I'm back here. Oh, let's pick, he's not here, so let's pick on Brady. All right, now if I click details, there's Brady's info. And you'll notice, hopefully you can see it well enough, it is in there, and I condensed the table and I striped it. All right, which I think looks a little bit nicer. You may or may not agree. We have now done 5 of the 7 parts of this. Anybody do that and have problems and don't know why? I mean, if you made mistakes earlier, or if you had something missing from earlier, it's going to propagate its way through and you'll probably have a problem. Yes, you've got some assembly errors. Now, just so you know, I decided to do this 2 ways. Let me show you this, and Dominic, this may help you. What I decided to do was this. On my YouTube channel for this class, if you look, what I have in here are all 6 parts. Those weren't done today. Those were done Friday of last week, Saturday when I came in here, and this morning I did the last one. Those are just me. And I did them very slow. They're slower than they're done in here. Thinking that if any of you had problems doing this, you could go back to the YouTube channel and watch each individual lesson. All right? So Dominic, you may have to do that. I don't know. All right? But what I'd like to do, because this is not very long, is I'd like to go through one more of these. And this is on creating the data annotations. It may take us till 4 o'clock. That's the bad news, or maybe even a little more. I don't know. The good news is, and all we have left for tomorrow is to try to take this thing and publish it to Microsoft Azure so we can just concentrate on that. And that's where I'd like to be. All right? So what I'd like us to do then, like I said, is to go into the last part of this. All right? So I'm going to stop my run. And stop my run here. Get rid of stuff I don't need. There we go. So we have so far, if you look here, what we did is we came in here and we did the getting started. And in the getting started, in the getting started, that's when we created the database and populated it. All right, so we did that. After we did the getting started, all right, we went in and the next step, we created the entity framework model. All right. So we came through there and basically we set up the entity framework for everything. We were able to view the database. Then we went in and we added the scaffolding where we added in the CRUD functionality. All right. Then we went in after that and we came in where we added the extra field. And that's we added the middle name. All right. Then we just came in, all right, in the last one, and in step 5 of 7, All right, we customized that view. All right. So what's left for what I'd like to get done today is adding this data annotation. All right. So in order to do that, I don't want to have anything open right now. You can, but it's not going to hurt anything if you do, but I'm not going to have anything open. All right. Now, when I look under models, in fact, let me close this. I'm going to close views. All right. When I look under controllers, you can see what's there. I've got a home controller. I've got a students controller. I've got an enrollments controller. All right. When I go under models here, I've got this TT thing, and I'm going to go and right mouse click on this. And maybe that is it. We're going to find out right now. All right. I'm looking. I want to make sure that I'm going to have you change the right file right now. So we could change this one, but this may be the wrong file. So I'm going to have you do it the way that I did it. All right. Then we'll see. We'll just change one of them. And then we'll go and we'll check and see if this is the right file or not. I don't know if what I just said made any sense or not. So just bear with me a second. And this is what I'd like you to do. I'm not going to do this from here. So I'm going to close all this. All right. So what I'd like you to do, I don't need that either, is I would like you to don't close Visual Studio, but minimize it and go back to your desktop. All right. Again, I am supposing here, that on your desktop, all right, that you have the file that we created, and I called mine MVC2. Yours may be called something else. All right. But I'm supposing that you can find that. Hopefully that's not a stretch for anybody. All right. So once you find that folder, double click on it. And you'll notice you've got another folder in there with the same name, MVC2. So double click on that one. And you've got a bunch of stuff in here. All right. This is your project. But if you notice now, if you double click on the models folder, you'll notice, among other things, what's in here is we have student.cs, we've got course.cs, and we've got enrollment.cs. Everybody see those? I'd like you to right mouse click on the student.cs file and open it with your editor of choice. I'm going to use Notepad++. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what to put in. Please look up on the screen for a second, if you would. What we're going to do is we're going to take the last name, the first name, and the middle name, and tell the system that it is a string with a length of 50. Does that make sense? Now, when I put in the first one, I'd like you to watch. Believe me, you'll have time to do this. But I'd like you to not type it in yet. I'd like you to watch, because if I'm right, and I'm hoping I am, this is going to generate an error. And it's a good thing, so it allows me to show you something. All right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to hit enter. Please don't type it in yet. So I'm going to type in here, string length 50. All right? And I'm hoping now, oh, I got to spell length correctly too. Oh, I thought it was going to give me an error. What I wanted to do was literally, this is what you have to do. You can all do this. We're putting in data annotations, which means we're putting in model view controller data validation. All right, so you have to go up here and say using system.componentModel.data annotations. Annotations, I think that's correct. Using system.componentModel.data annotations. And I think I spelled it all correctly. Surprised that the IntelliSense didn't totally kick in for that. Oh, and over here at the end, of course, not a period, but a semicolon. All right. So please add this line right there. Again, we are in the student.cs file. That's the model for students. We are telling it that we want to be able to do data annotations. All right? And it's very interesting the way the author has written this chapter. If you say, I don't know what you mean, you will in a second. All right? Then I'm taking for granted everybody was able to type in using system.componentModel, etc. Yeah, okay. Wait a minute, I've got to stop because it's telling me I'm out of space again, so it's going to refuse to tape. So I've got to take all this stuff that I've got here, except for the last one. That's not good. All right. Let's see. ESP.net, 1111 fall. There we go. Paste. That should work. Good. All right. So again, what we want to do is right before last name, we want to put a thing in there that says string length 50. In fact, we want to do it before last name, before first name, and before middle name. So just like that. String length is one word with a big S with a big L. I believe that's case sensitive, but I could be wrong. And we're telling it the size. We're telling it that the size for each one of those is 50 bytes in length. All right, we're not done yet. That made a change. That one made a change to that file. All right? And those are the changes that we wanted made to that file. So please do a save, however you save. And again, come into your editor, File, Open. And we want to open the Enrollment.cs file.
Do we not need a string after the middle name? String
No, you should put one before first name, before last name, and before middle name.
Okay.
All right? Now, in here, the first thing we want to do, so we're in the enrollment one, is we again want to use, we're using system.componentModel .data annotations. All right, but this time we want to set the grade. And what we don't want to say in here is string length. That wouldn't make much sense. We want to put in here range, and then in parens 0, 4. So we're saying that a grade can be anywhere between 0.00 and 4.00. All right. After you have done that, and I'll keep it up there for a second, save, then you should be able to close both of those files. So we changed two files in here. We changed student, and in student we added using system.componentModel.data annotations. All right, so that was the first thing that we did. Then we came in and before last name we put string length 50, before first name we put string length 50, before middle name we put string length 50. So we did all those. Boom. Then we came in to the enrollment and again put a using system.componentModel.data annotations, but now we're putting in our range. And again, make sure you've saved, I guess. So I can close that one now. All right. Now I'm going to come back here. I'm going to come back into Visual Studio. And I'm going to do a save all, and I'm going to run the program. This is kind of a pain in the butt to test because we're saying 50 characters, so you got to type 51. See what I'm saying? So you might have just wanted to change it to 10 or something like that. But it's 50 in the database, so you really should test to make sure it's 50 here. So I'm going to come down here, list of students. All right, there's the student. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to change Anthony's first name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. That should be plenty. All right. Now I'm going to copy it so I don't have to do that again. And I'm going to move down to my next field. See that? The first name must be a string with a maximum length of 50. So I know that one worked. All right. I'll get rid of that. And I'm going to go to last name, and I'm going to paste in those 50 E's that I just put in. Move over. The last name must be a length of 50. So I know that works. Finally, I want to go to middle name. I know we have no middle names, but I'm putting in 50 just to make sure. And now you see the middle name works. All right. So all of those things worked. I'm not going to save this, so I'm just going to go back to my list. So I know that works. Now I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to click on my list of enrollments, and I'm going to come in here and try to edit Tony's grade right here. All right. So I'm going to come in here and edit, and for the grade, I'm going to put in here 4.01, which is more than 4, and notice the error. These are very similar to when we added our own validators, but we're not really using validators anymore because those validators suppose that you are using web forms. All right? And also, if you look up on the screen, remember we said between 0 and 4? I really should try, does it handle -3? Notice I get the same error. You really should, you've got to be checking all of your ranges. In other words, you got to be doing that. All right? So I'll come back here and I'll just make it 3. And you'll notice that when I do, boom, no error. I don't want to save that, so I'm going to go back to list again. All right? So now what we have been able to do, we got one more thing to do and we're finished. All right? But what we've been able to do is, think about it, in one period. You created a new database, you populated it with data, all right? You use scaffolding to go and write a bunch of the code for you. You created your own models, you created your own views, you created your own controllers, all right? Then we went back into the model and we edited that and made changes to it by adding data annotations. And that's a lot to do in a period, all right? Now, one last thing, because like I said, we're almost done. But I'm going to read this, a couple things to you. And it's a paragraph, but first let me go back to this. All right. This is something, you don't have to write this down, but let's see. I want to go to, there we go. We are about halfway through this lesson, but what I want to show you is this. See this? It says, for a full list of data validation annotations, see system.componentModel.data annotations. And it shows in here all the different ones you can have. Now think of some of the ones that are in here. Look at this. Credit card. So there are some built-in ones, all right, and I don't think there's anything stopping you from creating your own. But the point is, they tried to come in here. There's a custom one, so you can do your own validation. So let's say that your customer had to enter in a number that was 2 digits and 3 numbers and 2 more, 2 digits, 3 letters, and 2 digits. You can make your own custom validator to check that. All right? But they've got a lot of them in here. I don't know how many there are, but there's at least 20 or 30 that are going to handle most situations. And again, there's a custom one in there. All right? So what I want you to see, though, is this. I'm going to go back up, and it says right here, Adding the validation attributes directly to the model class works when you do not expect the database to change. So notice what that says. If you create a database and you are 100% sure the database will never change, what we just did will work and work just fine with no problems. Then it says, however, if your database changes and you need to regenerate that model class, you lose all those attributes. You have to go in and manually put them back in again. Well, that's kind of a pain in the butt. All right. So how do you get around that? Well, the author says, to avoid this problem, you can add a metadata class. Remember how we added meta tags in our, basically for our websites? It's the same kind of an idea. Meta means data about data. So we are going to add a metadata class that contains our attributes. All right. So, like I said, what, in my opinion, for whatever that is or isn't worth, what's kind of cool about this is what we want to do. We want to go over, if your program's running, stop the run. All right. Mine was running, so I'm going to make sure it's not running anymore, and it's not. All right. Then we have to go over, and in our models folder, first I want to check one thing under models. All right. I want to come in here and I want to check and see, are these the ones that I just changed? All right. It was underneath here. So there was students, and I'm going to open it. There's my string length 50. So I guess we could have changed them there also. And I'm going to double check. I'm going to go to enrollment, and did that change my grade? There it is. See that? So we could have changed them from here. At least it appears we could have changed them from there. All right. So what we want to do, though, is I'm going to close this now. In my models folder, I'm going to close this too. Sorry, there. In my models folder, I'm going to right mouse click, choose add. Remember, models are basically classes, so please look on the screen. Go down to the bottom and choose class. So right mouse click on the models folder, choose add, choose class. They want you to call this not class 1. They want you to call this metadata class. You might as well call it what it is. So metadata.cs. And this one, I guess we do have some typing to do, and I can run that off for you too. Or I can just put it on the screen. You can watch me do it and type it in yourselves, either way. So I'm going to click add, and what I should notice is under models, there's metadata. See that? I just added a new model. But there's a bunch of stuff here. Some stuff we need, some stuff we don't need. All right? Well, what we don't need, we need the using system. We don't need any of this stuff. This is code bloat. We don't need any of that, so let's remove it. All right? So that's gone, but what do we need? Remember our using system.componentModel.data annotations? That one, we need that. So first put in that. And I'm going to come right back. Just give me a second here. I want to see how they did this in the book. Should be able to just highlight all this and do it, but we're going to find out right now. All right. I don't know why, but they called it they changed the name of it from metadata to student metadata, and I don't know why, but they just did. Boom, it just magically disappeared. All right. So I'm going to show you this. This is what you should have. I can run this off for you if you want a hard copy, or you can just look up on the screen. Whatever is easiest for you. I'll leave that. That's about half of it. I'll move it down in just a couple minutes. All right? And when you get done, do not run the program, because there's one last thing we have to do, then we're done with this particular lesson. Again, then tomorrow we can try to concentrate solely on publishing this thing out to Azure. So again, we right mouse clicked on our models folder, we chose add class, we called it metadata.cs, and this is what we're putting into that. Right? I don't know why they would change the name there to student metadata, and I don't even know on mine. If we get an error, we might have to change it back to regular metadata. I don't know. I don't know why they did that. Anybody want to guess what this is?
That's what comes up when there's an error.
No, but not a bad guess. Those are going to be the headings that get displayed, because previously the headings that got displayed were one word. It was the name of the field in the database. So it said last name, and it was put together as two different, it's one word. Now it'll be two words.
Since we switched around, should it be first name, middle name, then last name?
We'll see. Okay. I don't know, because when I did mine, I didn't make those changes like you suggested. So if we have to, we can always go back and do that. My guess is you very well could be right. All right. But what we've done is we've set up this metadata, but we have not yet associated it. It has not yet been associated, the model class, with the metadata class. So we're going to have to add yet another class. The good news is it'll only have like 2 lines of code in it. And once we do that, we'll be done. All right? Now again, I realize some of you type faster than others, but I want to move this up. So I'm taking for granted that everybody's at least got these first 10 lines in. All right? And I'm sorry, if you're that slow that you can't type faster than that, you need to take a typing tutor. Because I believe now that's almost it. So there's first name, and then there's just a little bit more on the bottom. Oh, now I know why they did it that way. Because this will be the student, and then later we're also going to have the enrollment metadata in there. I guess what they did was right. Again, if you have fallen behind, like I said, I have taped these first 6 lessons. All right? And I'm hoping that tomorrow morning when I come in here, I'll be able to tape the 7th one. I started doing it this morning. I had some problems. All right? You should notice, too, if you are a bad typer or typist, you could just copy these 3 lines and then paste them in twice and then just make some changes. You change first name to middle name, etc. All right? It should go a lot faster if you do it that way. So let me move this down again, and this is all that's left. It's right there. You might have already typed in the middle name in the enrollment data. And Tiffany is probably correct as far as the ordering. We're going to find out in just a couple minutes. Is there anyone that would like me to print off that code? Anybody? Notice that any field that can be, or at least some of the fields, that can be left null, say nullable on there. Now, you don't have to look, but please listen. What's going to happen is we're going to create one more class that we have to put about 2 or 3 lines of code into. When we do that and we run the program, this is what you have to listen to. When we do this and we run the program, you know those lines that we put into our, when we went into the student.cs file and the enrollment.cs file, they're going to disappear without us even having to touch them. They're going to be replaced by these. So when we get done, you want to run the program again and again test to make sure that the first name, middle name, or last name, if you put more than 50 characters in any of those, that it doesn't take it, and you'll want to recheck the grade to make sure if you put in a negative number or a number greater than 4.00 that it gives you the validation message. All right. So again, the display attribute is what's used to change the values that are shown in the text labels. All right. If you've done that, probably a good idea to right mouse or to do a save all. And then we're going to come back in our models, and one more time we are going to right mouse click, choose add class again. So right mouse click and again choose add class. And we're going to name this one partial classes .cs. Partial classes .cs. And we're putting in basically a bunch of empty stuff, but it's going to sync up this with the stuff we had in there previously, for lack of better words. All right, so partial classes.cs, and I will just put the whole thing in here. Again, we need system. We don't need any of these other ones, but we again need using system.componentModel.data annotations. So we need that. We've got our namespace, and in here, this is where we have to make the changes. All right. So we want to change what's shown in here. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put in what you need. First thing we want to say in here after our namespace is we want to say metadata type of, oops, little o, type of, and that student metadata, that same class name we used before. Notice how the IntelliSense picks it up. All right, so like that, and then a bracket on the end. I'm just going to type the whole thing. Like I said, it's about 6 or 7 lines. Public, partial, class, student, curly, curly. Then we have to do it again. But we have to do it the second time for enrollment. that should be everything. Now, each of these classes is marked and says partial class, and each one must map the name of our classes. This is saying map that student metadata that we just did to our student.cs class, and map that enrollment metadata that we just did to our enrollment class. By applying it this way, we are ensuring that the data validation attributes are automatically going to be generated as needed. One last thing, and literally we're done. I mean, we're right here on the page, and it goes down to here, and that's it. So we'll have finished. All right? Good time to save. If you haven't done so, do a save all. All right? So we have to regenerate the automatically generated classes. How do we do that? I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to go back to where we had that rankedmodel.edmx, this thing. You've seen this before. All right? I'm going to right mouse click and choose Update Model from Database again. And even though we have not changed the database, this will regenerate the classes. And that's what we need to have happen. So we want to click Refresh again. All right. And just select Tables. You'll just tell it to refresh everything that's in there. So we clicked on rankedmodel.edmx. Once we did that, we right mouse clicked in here and chose Update Model from Database. Then we went to Refresh, chose Tables, click Finish. All right. Now, please look up on the screen here. I can close this. In fact, I should save just to be sure. All right, which of course takes a year and a half today. All right. Now, if you look, please look up on the screen and notice for my student, look what's gone. Remember we had that string length 50? They're all gone. And if we go and also look under enrollment and we look under grade, that is gone. Right there. But if we go back and we run the program, which is the last thing for us to do today. And just to mix it up, I'm going to go over to my enrollments first. I'm going to go over to Tony because he's first and go to Edit. And I'm going to change his grade to a 33.00. Again, it must be between 0 and 4. How about well, let's make it valid again. All right. Boom. Then let's make it negative. Again, that's working. That's always a good sign. Back to the list. Then I'm going to go over to Home again. Click on my students, and just like we did before, I'm going to come in here. I could, maybe it'll be easier to add a new student, so I'll do a create new. Last name, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, that's more than 50. There's my error for the last name. Paste it in. There's my error for the first name. Finally, there's my error for the middle name. All right. Now there's other kinds of things that we could put in. For example, maybe enrollment date could be later than the current date. You know what I'm saying? You can't enroll, your enrollment date can't be in 2018. That doesn't really make any sense. Now it can be, as long as it's a valid date. All right, so there's other kinds of things that we could conceivably put in here. All right, that's it for what I'm going to go over today. Tomorrow, again, we'll look at the Azure stuff.